Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff here with co-host Chip. What is going on, everybody? What's going on, Chip? Tell you what's going on.
Saturday,
XRP futures. That's what the talk of the town is over on Coinbase, derivatives, futures, and all those other usual normal financial tools and uh, products that are available over there in the regular stock markets. Now coming to crypto. So that's pretty exciting to talk about. Blockchain A, deep state lies, getting used to those. There's probably a lot more that need to be uncovered and what you're not being told about everything. That's what we're going to talk about today. Got to dig in, got to workshop it, got to figure out why are some people out there in the community, maybe not the XRP community, still talking about the big XRP dumps being done by Ripple that have been going on for the last decade. Well, let's talk about that too, because some people think it's brand new.
too. There's just so much stuff going on, Jeff. But that's okay because we're here to mini workshop it with you and break it down and give you our perspective, which
That's
we're
right.
always going to do. We're never going to not give you our perspective. So that's what we're going to do. Who's ready to go? Let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Boom, boom. Drop in where you're coming in from. What part of the world are you coming in from? Where do you hail from? You freedom lover, decentralized fan, boys and girls. That's what I want to know. Of course, Celebration Chat's coming in there. The most rigged community in Central Florida could be. The XRP Plumbing said they finally put the documentary of the XRP Unleashed or rigged from the start. They should have done that. Well, the reason they didn't do it is they needed to fund it. So you needed to put a lot of money and effort and time to put that together. And so that's why they had to charge for it. And that's why they had these, events all over. I don't know, they had like 7 or 8 premieres. I went up to the one in Atlanta. Had a little altercation with my pal, Brad Kimes. So wrote a AI song about it. Why wouldn't we? Morning, y'all, says Ray Run. Loving my new NFT. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That's a good one. Sober's in the house right there. It's all rigged. Of course it's all rigged. Reborn's in here. Reborn John. Well, look at Reborn John. He updated his Phoenix with his Yeti. Gotta love it, man. You got to love it. Maybe we got to do a special thing for XRP Plumbing so he can have the plumbing. Maybe you can just use that for your, the plumbing dude. That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
The plumbing dude.
The plumbing Yeti, Badass Yeti. Badass Yeti. Trying to see, like I have it in here. Trying to look at it. Where is it? Here. This is it. I have it on my phone, so there it is. Here, see? Bam.
There he is. There he is. He's badass.
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 Maybe we just give that to you as your for your use it for your avatar, since it's not an official, but we'd have to do a one-off to make it an NFT, which we could certainly do that too. So Vince Scully says, good morning.
Good morning.
Guapo Lee Guapo. Good morning from Houston, Texas. John Page coming in from Australia. Do love our Aussies. The big fan base over there. I could send you some money cash up. No, it's not really about the money, dude. It's just more about, if you want to use it for your. It's just that we were talking about you. We're like, you know what? Let's see if we can create something cool.
We got to see if we can mint it though. I think we can mint a one-off.
We can mint a one-off. We can mint a special one-off one so you can have it as an NFT as well, which would be great. We'd have to do that, like coordinate that, because I'd hate to mint it and then somebody else buys it. You know what I mean?
Oh, that'd be interesting. Wouldn't that be?
That's the problem with it, right? That's the whole thing, is like we mint it and then someone goes in and swipes it and be like, damn, swipe or no swipe. Swipe or no swipe. We don't want that. We don't want that to happen. So
that's right.
The Green Tribe, hell, dude, we got the black and the purple tribe yet to go, but we're going to be doing probably the Badass Chimps next. We'll be giving away Badass Chimps on here.
That'll be fun. Badass Chimps.
Yeah,
a little bit of badassery.
Yeah, and starting probably tomorrow night, we're going to be giving away some plots of land for the X-Spectre verse. Which is going to be pretty awesome. We got some of those.
That's right. We got land.
Those are
Take
pretty
it away.
highly valued. We'll do that tomorrow night
Yep. That'll be cool.
for the next consecutive shows. But these are valued around $100 each, man. Not messing around, but it's a good thing. So Derek set us up, so we're excited about that to be able to give those away. Klaus, you will eat the bug. He's stepping away. Well, he's been stepping down for like 2 years, from what I've heard. Right? I mean, this dude is like he's been stepping down for like forever. It's like, yeah, Klaus, but he's also not well either. He's got some health issues. But yeah, it failed. Jim D's in the building. He's got his coffee. Good for that.
His coffee ready.
Good. Coffee is
Hanging
there.
out.
Coffee is there. Let's go. Let's get into some news here, Jeff. We got so action-packed stuff. We have so much stuff to talk about. Ripple put out this post on X. What if aid could be faster, smarter, and more transparent? Well, this is so on point because what we're learning from USAID is they were sending supposedly in the form of, they'd send some things, but most of that stuff was being filtered. Like maybe 10% would go to help some country, and then the rest of it would get funneled into their, the cronies' bank accounts. So it would turn into a big joke. And so, Jeff, we've talked about that for a long time. Put on the blockchain. Let's see where every single, dollar, whatever it is, why not track and see where it ends up? Because there's no transparency. It's like, oh, we gave $2 million. We gave $1 billion to this country. Okay, then what happened to it? Oh, well, who actually got it? Did the people get it? Did the government filter it? So this is a lot what happened. So this is so necessary. It's great to see Ripple with an initiative here. And so Ripple, along with this Mercy Corps Ventures, and also along with Diva Donate, they're piloting a blockchain-powered aid using Ripple USD for drought insurance in Kenya. So satellite data detects the drought risk. Smart contracts automate the RLUSD payouts. 500 plus farmers receive timely support. So this is an amazing, kind of a fun, good initiative. And so they put out this here and how it works. So the pilot uses a data-driven approach to proactive drought relief, utilizing the RLUSD on Ethereum. And this is where we're getting the smart contracts as the payout token in combination with the smart contract, a computer program that automates predefined execution price once conditions are met. That's how a smart contract works. And so in this case, the Ripple USD will be sent to Kenyan pastorologists once drought triggers are detected via the satellite. Normal difference vegetation index, the NDVI, is the satellite-based measurement that will be used to assess the health and density of the vegetation. So here's how it works. First of all, you have the Ripple USD pool. Anyone can contribute to the campaign by connecting a wallet. Number two, smart contract funds are held in escrow with the predefined drought triggers. The NDVI measurements, the vegetation conditions are measured using the NDVI. And then you have automatic payouts. If those drought conditions are detected by May 31st, 2025, funds are automatically released to affected communities. So if you think about it, this is true decentralization in work. You set up a smart contract, and when these predefined via satellite, a drought is detected, funds get dispersed. There's no central party. It's once it's set up, you got the smart contract. They're doing it on Ethereum because Ethereum is a smart contract-based blockchain. Jeff, this is such a welcome thing, especially in a scenario where there is no centralized control. Once it's set up, if it happens before May 31st, boom, I'll go the payments. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's different ways we could approach this. Number one, where's the money coming from? Is the aid going to continue coming from a government fund? Is it going to be voted through, or is it through private donation? So you get all these private corporations, maybe they want to participate in this, versus it always having to come through government resource. But even though government resource aid, support, development around the world is beneficial, especially for exports, as we can start building other economies or helping other economies grow, providing tools through education and things like that to allow them to become more self-sustaining and self-sufficient. then they become consumption-based economies, and they start consuming our products, which is good. If we look around the world, for all these last decades, the level of corruption through like a USAID as an example, and USAID was one of those groups that was responsible for distribution of like $6 billion annually over to countries in Africa. And so how much of the money actually made it to the hands of those who were in need? And, how much did the NGOs take? How much did the government officials on the ground take? How much did community leaders take? How much did fraudsters take? How much actually made it down to the farmer level? I think that's like the number one question. Now, through blockchain, through transparency, cut out all that fat, right? There's no reason to have any of those middle people, because now if we can orchestrate and we have a structure in place to say, look, Kenya, we want to see what we can do to help them continue to develop using the correct technologies, because there's technologies around the world. Like if you look at, over in Israel, what they accomplished, being able to plant and produce in desert climate. And so if you could take certain technologies like that, implement them in regions like this in Kenya and Africa, throughout Africa, have the financial backing, and then provide that assistance and support and funding and training directly to the farmer. You just bypass. You're connecting the farmer with the technology. You're helping them, help support them in the beginning. And it doesn't have to be always handouts. There could be low interest, ongoing loans to help them develop and build what they're doing, but with full transparency. Now, this is, true development and in a structure that has, the transparent foundation, so that if we want to look at if it's coming from government funds, well, here we go. We know exactly what's going on. We know who's benefiting from it. We know how it's moving. We know how it's being spent. We know where it's being spent. We know, if we know where, we know what countries they're participating with. We know, and then we can track the fund from that point forward as well. So I think there's so many components, to this that have been achieved, that can be achieved through blockchain, that are going to be critical. And it's really to the benefit, of all these farmers, so we can then pull back. We don't have to give 6 billion. We can give, a lot less that would be over, beneficial and, overall, which I think would be great. Chad is saying you sound like you're underwater, but I don't know. I don't hear it like you're underwater. Let me see.
Hello. Maybe it's my microphone. I don't know.
Is your microphone change?
No.
Since we started?
It's on crisp.
Oh, okay.
Hang on a second. Let me turn crisp off. Let me see if that'll do it. Does that sound better? Let's see if that's
no. Now better. You sound echoey.
Weird. Yeah, something. Unfortunately, I had to change browsers and it screwed everything up.
But I don't hear it so like you're underwater. That's so strange.
Do you guys hear it? Hello, anybody? Bueller?
But something definitely shifted from when we opened to right now.
Do you hear something different? I don't know. I mean, I'm on.
I don't hear like you're underwater though.
I'm on crisp. Better. Does that sound any different?
Oh, much better. Yeah. What'd you do?
I turned crisp off.
That's weird.
I was doing some.
But when you turned it off before, it was like staticky, like we're in a big hall.
Switched it to Scarlet, which bypasses it altogether. So.
Oh, you went right to the box. Yeah.
So
okay.
That's why. So I don't know, something going on with crisp. I'll have to fix that.
Crisp.
I'll have to fix it because even when I turned it off, it didn't seem to help. So thank you for that. All right, sounds better. Good. Well, thank you. Yeah,
much better. What a difference! Something happened. Like,
I don't know.
Strange.
So pastoralists, which is basically just all it means is a cattle farmer or sheep or cattle farmer, which is here. But so you connect your wallet, you can do this. But there's some more data points here, Jeff, kind of like while you were talking. There's 533 of these pastoralists, $75 target over the amount to cover the amount per, and there's 40,000 total to cover for the campaign. Takes place with partnership with Ripple. Ripple generously contributed $25,000 to support the campaign. Additionally, there's an additional 12,000 which was remaining unreleased from previous campaigns. This is from Mercy Core and Arbitrum that have been rolled into this campaign. So that means there's 38,000 total. I'm doing the math on that. No, 37,000. What am I doing here? 37. The trigger metric talks about that donation scenarios. So if here, let me just see if I get this bigger here. So 100% if the NDVI is at or below 1.55, 67% if it's at 1.5, and 0 if it's above 1.6. So there you go.
What is NDVI?
That was the metric.
Oh, the normalized difference vegetation index.
Yeah, that's what it is. Normalized.
Did they make that up? What does that even mean?
I think it's what measures the amount of water for the in the drought.
Remember Sam Kinison?
Yeah, quantifies. Yeah, don't. When he says, he goes, yeah, instead of shipping food into a desert, you live in a desert. Get out of the desert. The health and density of vegetation using sensor data. He goes, you know why? Because you live in a desert.
You know what this says? Sand.
It's sand. Get out. You live in a desert. Move to where there's water. It serves as a reasonable metric for assessing drought, as vegetation density generally correlates with the rainfall pattern. So like less vegetation, less rain, less blah, 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 blah. So anyways, we spent a lot more time on that than I expected. So I think it was good to sort of workshop that a little bit. But it was decent to.
Well, that's, you know what it is? It's real world utility of blockchain. You know, people really want to understand and know, like, where can we put this into play, you know, and that's it, you know. So look at that. Adrian Arsenal is on right now. So he's not sure exactly where he's going to be. He's either watching the Arsenal game or listening to us.
I know where I'm going to be.
Not watching Arsenal?
Nah, could care less.
So there's a pub,
losers,
like 5-10 minutes from my house, that is, on any other day you wouldn't know it, but today if you walked in there, it'd be packed with Arsenal fans. Packed. That's like the hangout, and it's crazy. You know, everyone's got their jerseys on and just overflowing with Arsenal fans. But my son is a Tottenham fan, refused to go in there. He wouldn't go when they were playing Arsenal. I said, this is the greatest place to watch it. They have a massive TV.
Yeah,
amongst the Tottenham pub.
Amongst unfriendlies.
Exactly.
Amongst not a good idea. I stand with your son. There you go.
Yeah.
I stand with Aaron on this one. Sorry. I'm not giving in. Our pal Stu Alderati, who's the general counsel over there at Ripple, he did an interview. He chatted with Kenzie Sigalos about the National Crypto Association new report. We talked about this a little bit the other day, the Crypto in America, which found crypto holders come from all walks of life. Who would have thought? Everybody thinks it's the young people. It's the middle. It's this, it's that. And the funny thing is it's a lot. So let's put this. I was going to play the full interview. It's just too long. 1-0. Yeah, you can turn it off now. Let's see. Let's go to. Here we go. Let's go. I'm just going to play the clip. It was an 8-minute interview, and if we do that, we'll never get through all the stuff we have, Jeff. So let's just play the one bit here.
All right, let's turn our attention back to the US for our main story. The National Cryptocurrency Association is out with a new study on US crypto sentiment. Crypto World's Mackenzie Sigalos spoke with Stu Alderati about the study. He is president of the association aimed at educating people on how to engage with crypto.
Why was it important to conduct this kind of research, and did anything surprise you in the findings?
So the NCA partnered with the Harris Poll to conduct the largest ever study of crypto holders in America. 1 in 5 Americans, 55 million American US adults own or use crypto. More people over the age of 55 own crypto than people under the age of 25. Crypto isn't just for the bros.
That's a kind of a staggering stat. More people over 55 own crypto. Wow, Jeff.
In America.
The boomers.
1 in 5 Americans, 55 million American US adults own or use crypto. More people over the age of 55 own crypto than people under the age of 25. Crypto isn't just for the bros, the crypto bros. Nearly a third of crypto holders are women. Nearly as many crypto holders work in construction as do in the technology sector.
See, look, this is good to do a study like this because there's so many misnomers. There's so much miscommunication out there. It's like, oh, it's a certain demographic, and you find that it's really everybody. Plus, a third are women, and like they get discounted. Like, oh, it's all crypto bros. That ain't true either. But also, the crypto bros are stupid enough to go on and act, and the women are much smarter and don't have to be out there like, they're just investors. They're quiet investors. They do the research, and they don't have to be, being stupid on the social media.
Crypto isn't just for the rich. 26% of crypto owning households earn less than $75,000. That's just 4 very quick metrics or data points. And when you dig into the report, there is more to learn, all of which I think some is surprising, some is not surprising, some is really just confirming what we thought. But now we have a definitive survey, the largest ever of its kind in the US, that folks can now point to and rely on.
Pretty cool. Pretty interesting stat there. Stu Alderod. He also flashed his photo up of him.
Mark is walking home from Kelly's bar in Hamtramck.
It's a little early to be out drinking at Kelly's, isn't it?
That might be the last holdout in Hamtramck now that it's no longer a Polish neighborhood.
Yeah, no longer. It was when I lived there. Stu says that crypto's for non-crypto people too. And so here he is standing out with a giant sign in the background. I don't know where that is. I'm trying to get an idea. Where is that exactly? I think that's San Francisco. I don't know where that is.
Is that in the US?
I don't know. He didn't say where it was, but crypto's for non-crypto
zoom in on that
people
flag.
too.
Look at the flag in the upper corner. See if you can get some of those words on there.
It says something.com.
Oh.
WALL.com. So it must be hard to know. Nothing really tips you off. Trying to look in the building, see if there's anything that can kind of give it away.
That's more like New York City architecture.
No, it could be San Francisco too, because you notice potentially. It'd be nice to know where he was. Let's see the manhole cover. Anything on that? Nothing. I don't know. Nobody knows where this.
Nobody knows.
I don't know.
Argentina?
Hey. Argentina. Who knows? Let's try to see if anybody knows. Oh, look at that. Let's see. Look, I've never seen so many short comments in my life. I was hoping that somebody might recognize that and say, hey, I know what that is. No.
Throw it into ChatGPT and see if it knows.
We could do that too. Yeah, let's definitely do that. Let me take it off screen here and download this puppy, download this image.
This will be interesting.
Let's see if we can figure out where
Got to be able to recognize it.
All right.
Could be anywhere. Could be anywhere. But if you look at the bricks, the building, just from the overall structure, it'll be crazy if ChatGPT can find it. But it has been able to find things.
Oh, it finds all kinds of shit, man.
And you just based off of something small like that.
Okay, I just asked it. Let's see what it says. Where was this photo taken? Dude, you were absolutely right. Wall Street in New York City, building the backgrounds of the New York Stock Exchange, where it's one very close to it. It's known for classical architecture, prominent financial location.
There you go.
The ad on the glass says crypto is for non-crypto people, and it's from the National Cryptocurrency Association. It appears to be part of a marketing push near the financial district. So yeah, classic Wall Street scene, rainy day, business attire, and crypto banner at the heart of legacy finance.
Man, come on.
There you go, man. People don't doubt the
we should just invite ChatGPT on the show. Just let ChatGPT do the show.
We can have a conversation with ChatGPT, just have a conversation with it's amazing. It's freaking amazing.
Justin thinks Grok is better. Grok is different. I did a project and I used both of them because Grok elongates everything and doesn't always provide it as clean. Like, it's weird. ChatGPT puts more of the flowery stuff around it, and Grok is just like more encyclopedia like.
Well, if I want non-woke bullshit, if I don't want woke bullshit in there, I go to Grok, right? So if I want a Grok and I want to get the real thing, because a lot of times I'll get like, oh, I can't help you, or oh, I can't do that, or you violated the rules, or some kind of bullshit like that with ChatGPT. But if I want to have attitude, if I want to get like an attitude or an edge, yeah, Grok is the place to do it. But it's a little bit more, it's a little more personality than it is, you know. So it's kind of a fine line between them. So it's good for some things.
And I don't think you can have the same
Grok is not Google.
conversation.
Grok is Elon Musk. It's X. So if you go into X, you can go to. I mean, I have the Grok app as well, but
me too.
Yeah. Well, it's
the
built,
same conversation.
I mean, it's built into X, so you just go to X, and there's a Grok thing in there. It's the same functionality. So
look
that's
at this.
how it works.
I put ChatGPT on here, and it's going to listen to us. We're going to have to invite it in and see if we can talk to it. That'd be crazy.
We can talk to it and tell us all kinds of stuff. But you know
weird.
what? You know, Jim's the one starting the whole Yeti thing. I don't know. You might have to do this time, Jeff. I don't know if I've got the Yeti thing up here. Let me see. Do I have it? Yeah, I do. Let's see. Let's do this because, guys, we got to give away a Yeti. So I've got to go ahead and get this set up.
All right.
And
well,
we've got 5 entries already. My goodness. Look at
all right.
that.
Well, after this, let's take a quick commercial break. That'll be cool. Here we go.
Win a badass Yeti from Blue Tribe. What's the word of the day? Yeti. Get your sob and wallet ready, because this one's gonna be a burp. Get ready to claim your own legendary Blue Tribe Yeti of the clan Spirit Walkers. His name is called on the chain with the Badass Yetis.
There you go, man. Badass Yetis.
Badass Yetis.
Scalder.
Scalder.
Let's talk a little bit more. Let's talk a little bit more about Ripple. So Ripple X put this out. Mic check. Is this thing on?
Yep.
This thing on. Hello.
Mic
Apex 2025 speaker lineup now alive. Let's take a look at who's going to be at Apex this year. So we got the usual suspects: Garlinghouse, Schwartz, Monica Long, David Bachiri, who's president of the XRPL Commons. And there's a couple people that I'm really excited that are going to be there. And one of them is going to be on here probably next Saturday. Alexander Tichenko, CEO and founder of VNX. You got Arthur Sabinskov, which is Grove. You got Garlinghouse. We talked about him. David Simmons from Dolly. Dimitri Restrano from AWS. Our buddy Fabio Marzella, who is also going to be making an appearance on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because he is the he runs the Zao DAO. And Fabio's coming on the show. We're just going to get him scheduled. But Fabio from Australia, going to be exciting. And we met Fabio last year
in Australia,
which was awesome. Hugo Filion from Flare is going to be there. Ian DeBode from Ondo, which we've been talking a lot about Ondo. Got Jan Hankin from Chains Atlas. You got Joel Munn from Strobe Protocol. Julian Lita from IPOs. Luke Bokahat from XRPL Commons. Matt Mankins from Kudos. You got Max Zhang from Mercurio. You got Mayuka Vadari. She's a senior software engineer over there at Ripple. Monica Long. Nathaniel Javier. Nicole Wen from APAC DAO. And our buddy, who was going to be on here next week, Panos Mikras, is going to also be there. I'm super from Anados, which is awesome. Also, Scott Chamberlain, which we got to spend some time with and meet him when we were in Australia as well. Excited about Scott. It says he's representing the Australian National University, but of course, you know, he's got a pretty great bio. Because I don't see if it talks Evernode right there. So he gets an Evernode mentioned way down on his bio, but that's what he was talking about last year, co-founding Evernode. So pretty cool. Shen Morikomi is going to be there as well, and of course we got to hang out with Shen. We got to be on a panel with Shen, and it's exciting. He runs Gen 3 Games, Thomas Husnet, XRPL Commons, Tom Rober from Pass Entry. So good stuff. You also have Vet, awesome, from XRP Cafe, which will be amazing, and then William Chen. So really exciting people from the community. That's going to be taking place. I think it's in June, beginning of June, is it? When is this thing happening? I'm trying to think of when this kicks off exactly. I'm going to go ahead and there we go. When is this? That's, you think the first thing you'd put on here is exactly when it is, but I don't see. It says see in Singapore, but wasn't it in the Netherlands last year? I think it was. June 10th through the 12th. There you go. June 10th through the 12th. There it is. I thought it was the first week of June, but no, it's actually the second week. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, interesting. And I think we got a video on that too. Let's see. I think we got some videos on Apex. Let's do this one. This is Apex 2025, kind of like an overview. Then we'll talk the one with, here we go.
Every year, XRP Ledger Apex highlights the growth of the XRPL community. We welcome developers, institutions, industry leaders, and blockchain innovators from around the world for insightful discussions, hands-on workshops, and networking opportunities that shape the future of the ledger. In 2025, we are thrilled to bring the event to Singapore. Come meet me, Brad Garlinghouse, Monica Long, and many others in Singapore this June. Together, let's drive the next wave of blockchain innovation. I hope to see you there.
And there you go. And then I got another one here too. First one is there. Sort of remembered through, maybe not. Maybe it was just the one clip. Or maybe I didn't download the other one. Who knows? But that's pretty much it on Apex. But it'll be another great, awesome event. Something you teased at the beginning, Jeff. You had talked a little bit about this, but I think it's a pretty interesting development with Coinbase. So Coinbase Institutional put this post up. We're excited to announce that Coinbase Derivatives filed with the CFTC to self-certify XRP futures, bringing a regulated, capital-efficient way to gain exposure to one of the most liquid digital assets. Do you hear that? The most liquid digital assets. We anticipate the contract going live on April 21st.
Man, that's coming up. 2 weeks.
Yeah, maybe 2. You're right. Stay tuned for additional details on launch timelines and availability. What do you think about this development, Jeff?
Let's get some futures.
Futures, baby. Futures.
Derivatives, futures, all those things. Pork bellies, all that stuff kind of terrifies me.
It's a little bit, I'm not going to, I don't mess with them personally because you got to really know what you're doing, Jeff, and I don't. So it's not
it's kind of like trading options. I studied options. A buddy of mine trades options all the time. Always has all these contracts out and, tells me about his kind. I'm like, man, I don't know. But once you know it, but you're still, you can leverage, you can leverage, much better using option contracts. But man, it's a little intimidating. Man, check this out real quick. I'm looking on the XRP Cafe. This is the #1 project in volume right now.
The Bear Champ, that is F. That's hard to believe, man. Wow. Interesting.
Current volume, 72,000 XRP total volume.
Holy cow.
I'm just looking at like total volume.
But, all right, it's time to get it's time to ready the badass chimps, baby.
But when we look here, the volume over the last day, 43,000 XRP, and I look at the differentiator between this one that just rolled out the floor, 68 XRP, 236 sales. The one below that is the X Raptor Punks at 3,000. And then you go down to X Spectre Alpine, the cars, you're at 1,100. X Spectre Land, 1,300. Look at the big differentiator. This is, we were talking about this the other day, that if we go over to the ordinals right now, the volume number is going to be in the millions. And here we're in the 4 digits, 5 digit.
Yeah, but how much are they? What's the floor price on that? They're $120 roughly, plus $125,
Yeah.
$130.
$130 per, and they sold 43,000, or the volume, the transaction volume.
Who's
is
running that project?
43,000.
Go back to, is there a website shown there? Go back to there. The Beer Champ trilogy. Beer Champ.
Ah, look at that.
Oh, that's JC Rivera. Is that who
Yeah.
that is? That's why, because it's a known artist.
Yep.
Go back
I
to it
agree.
again. Go back to the other one, because it does not. I didn't recognize his work, to be honest with you. That's why you got a big name, huge name. So he's probably bringing people from different communities over.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's awesome. Bringing
is
some new
pretty-
stuff. Go click on the other art, because like that didn't look didn't look the same. Go back to the actual art hit the back button. No, I don't want to see this. Go back to the last one. Go back to his project. I want to see what the project looks like. Bear Champ.
Oh,
Yeah, so let's zoom in on some of those. I didn't recognize it as. Okay, so you know what? There's a lot. Actually, it's when you look at it from far away, it looked kind of muddy, but when you see it like this,
Yeah.
you go, "There's a lot." It's very cool. Because you know what I mean. There's a lot of shadowing and stuff. So you got a skull inside of the head with a.
Yeah.
That is F. Okay.
but still, I mean, I get he's a known artist.
Well, we're known artists too. Once we do a lot of badass chimpos, we probably should ask them for some feedback from the community. We've been experimenting a little bit to see
Oh, yeah.
we probably should talk about that a little bit, Jeff.
That'd be a good idea.
I think we should get some feedback from our trusted community here. It's not going to bullshit us on stuff. Because if you want to seek for bullshit, you can get a lot of bullshit. But I will say that, let me go ahead, Jeff. Let me go ahead and I'm going to move some of these over. And then let's get some feedback from peeps. All right, let's go to, hang on, let me just put these into my, I'm moving them from my
those in
phone
there.
to my computer.
All right, Chip, you see this comment?
Yeah. Yeah, not I.
All right, it's time for the Chip Rant. Crypto, politics, XRP, dispelling the FOMO and FUD.
You're not going to get it from me, Jeff.
This isn't one of your YouTube fanboys. It's raw, unfiltered badassery.
Damn.
If you're standing up, sit down.
Sit
This
down.
is the Chip Rant. Let's go.
Not going to bait me into it, Jeff. You play all the music you want. I'm not baiting me this time. No. It's listen. The XRP
All right, it's time for the
Vegas.
Chip Rant. Crypto, politics, XRP,
All right, enough. Turn it off.
dispelling the FOMO and
The
FUD.
repeat is
Setting
on
the
it.
record straight. This
Click
isn't
the
one of your
repeat
YouTube.
So there we go. The XRP Vegas event is a good event. You know, you got Brad Garlinghouse going to be. It's going to be a decent event. It's put on for profit, which is a little bit different than some other ones that we've
Holy
participated
shit.
in.
Like,
But
let's not do that.
these things
That's
are
a bad
expensive to
idea.
run. They're expensive to run. They take a lot of time investment. It's a big time suck. So, it's not that easy. But here we go, Jeff. Let's go put this up. This is what we were talking about for the badass chimpos, right? This is the one, the badass chimpies, right? That's what we're
There we go.
talking. Kind of like to
Ooh.
give you an idea. of
Look at he's
badass
drinking
chimp.
milk.
But then we were talking about potentially, and what happened to my other one? And so we were kind of looking at a 3D sort of version of these guys where, so I guess the question is, do you guys like the hand-drawn ones? Or do you guys like the more like 3D looking ones here?
Oh, there's the 3D guys.
There's
Look at
the
those 3D guys.
3D badass chimps, bucket hat, cool, So what are you guys thinking, right? So here's this dude here, and I think I got him somewhere else. So it's just a 3D version of it. And then there you go, right there.
I love that guy.
Badass Yetis Coffee. Right
I love
there,
that
man.
guy. I love that little guy.
Right. So these are the badass chimps. You got the
We need to
3D
put him
version
up to
here.
Promote Badass Yeti Coffee.
Right. You got the 3D version versus the hand-drawn version. So
Where's the hand-drawn one with the glasses?
I don't know that I moved him over there. I gotta see if I can kind of move him over. I don't think I did move him. Oh yeah, here he is. Let's see. He's here. Let's see. Is it one of these? No, I did move him. I don't see him. Why don't I see him? That's weird. Because I did move him over.
All right.
So I don't know which.
They do nothing. Not everybody likes NFTs. But...
Yeah, well, we're then keep it to yourself. Then we're not asking you. We're only asking people that have an opinion and care about this. Otherwise,
right?
You guys can keep it to yourself. There it is, right there. So there's the
there he is. Hand drawn versus 3D. Look at that. Kind of like the juxtaposition of both of them. That's the real one that goes into the Expectorverse, and then there's the hand drawn one.
There you go. So I don't know, hand drawn has a lot of character, man.
There's a lot of character. So, lose a little bit of character there, but it's cool. The 3D one just really cool.
There you have it.
We can get him to move around, put him in a video.
He said I'd hold off on putting him out. We hold off on nothing. Everything
held
moves
out
forward.
for like a,
we've held out. We've created these over a year ago, so we're not holding out. A year and a half ago we created them, so now it's time to start rolling everything out. Bear market is dead. All right,
that's just got XRP set aside for the Black tribe. That's right. The Black and Purple tribe are going to roll out, and they're going to be kick ass. We got to clean them up a little bit and get them out.
That's right.
Or also kick ass.
So
once we get to 4, then we got to figure out how to get them to battle each other. That'll be really cool.
It'll take some time. We're not there yet. Complete another audit of the XRPL EVM sidechain Axelar integration. Came out stunningly well, which is great. This is what we're talking about. So Scott Melker, who's the wolf of all streets, he said 1 billion XRP token unlock from Ripple escrow sparks concerns about oversupply. And I'm like, yeah, 7 years of monthly escrow releases. Now it's a concern. Yeah. So I've been kind of going back and forth with Scott Melker on a bunch of different things. He started raging on the whole
wolf of all streets.
And yeah, he started raging on a bunch of stuff. And I said, so when he was saying since the inaugural of Trump, the stock market's collapsed X amount. I'm like, oh, you voted? It's telling me you voted for Harris? He goes, I'm spitting facts. I go, well, the reason I referenced it is because you tied it back to Trump, right? I mean, so this is like the whole thing about the whole stock market collapse. And if you want to talk about stock market collapse, let's talk about that. Here we go. Let me see if I can.
Some really good videos on that. There's one guy who explained it like perfectly.
Yeah, I have him too. So John Ocasio Rodham Nolte, which I love when he puts Ocasio Rodham Nolte. So he said the left and the regime media cannot stop making fools of themselves to any capable of even minimum critical thinking skills. So let's look at this. This is the Dow Jones. So ignore when it collapsed under Biden, but now it's time for panic. So
right,
this is the whole sort of this is how it's handled.
It was devastating during that period of time when portfolios were cut by down by 60% of their value. And we lived through that period of time where if you didn't go into cash and you were still sitting in your portfolio, it's down by 60%. So and then people lived with it and they were okay with it. And now they talk out, and now there's purpose behind the movement with the tariffs, the collapse of the markets, there's certain players at hand. There's a war that's being waged right now. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
Don't understand the fundamentals of what the tariffs represent, but then they don't understand the crash of the markets right now. What exactly is transpiring, because you still have these big institutions that are connected to and controlled by the global elitists, and the global elitists are going to fight back. They're losing their power hold. So every move that Trump does on a daily basis is being tried. There's an attempt to counteract what he's doing to put this country right, because the more our country lives in chaos, the more they control us. The more they control us, the less money earning potential you have. And they also will continue to take all of your hard-earned dollars through overtaxation, taxation with no representation, because then we're pushing billions of dollars into the coffers of who knows who. And that's the corruption they're finding. When you get rid of the corruption, that's their money flow. That's their spigot. You cut off their spigot, you get a caged animal. That caged animal is dangerous, but if you know how to control a caged animal, you can win. If you don't know how to control a caged animal, it becomes very vicious. But in either scenario, the caged animal is still dangerous, right? And so Trump has orchestrated, and this is, if you go and look and read all these different articles that are coming out on it, Trump has orchestrated this tariff plan for like the past 25 years. He's been talking about it. So he keeps, and now they've gone back to reference things that he said, and he's alluded to this fact of what needs to transpire to set our country back on the path of success and prosperity. That's one component of it. The other component, and Chip, you reference it all the time, the book From the Art of the Deal. If you read that book, you know exactly what his objectives are and how things happen from a business perspective. You have to gain leverage. Our country lost leverage. We lost leverage against China. We lost leverage across the board. If you go to the Shark Tank and you watch the talking heads on the Shark Tank, what is the one thing they tell most people that come on when their cost of good production was too high? They laugh at them like, oh, that should be made over in China. I can take that over to China and our cost of production is going to drop by 50%. Well, hey, guess what? You also just lost control of your product by sending it to China.
Correct.
Vacuum in this country, and it's crazy because when I was in undergrad, I had an economics professor. This guy was brilliant, ran businesses, was CEO of multiple companies. The guy was brilliant. And the one thing that he would reference, and this is back, this would have been back, I don't know, early 90s, whenever that was. And he called it that we're entering in this phase of the donut economy, and the donut or the bagel, whatever you want to call it. But all of the production is in the middle. All of the service industries on the outside. He said, as soon as you take out the production, which is everything that we've shipped over to China, producing, making, building, developing, all of that stuff, you take out the middle part of the donut, everything collapses because your economy can no longer survive just on service because you've lost the core of your economy. And this was then. Now you fast forward to now, and look what happened. Exactly what he said was going to happen. And this is exactly what transpired. We shipped all of our production overseas, and then we have nothing because as soon as they shut the spigot, you've got nothing. We lost control of our pharmaceutical production. We've lost control of key components that go into everything that we make, from microchips to transistors, whatever, stamping plants throughout the Midwest that make components for vehicles all went to China. And guess what happens when it went to China? Not only did they steal our technology, because no one put a check and balance on the fact they were stealing all of our technology and using it as their own, but the stuff they shipped back here was cheaply made. It didn't last. And now you talk to people, look, go to Home Depot and go try to buy something that's not made in China. Tools, all cheap. Most of your appliances, cheap. Now you know what you need to do, just like the textile industry. I remember a number of years ago, I was working over in Italy, and I said, well, the one thing you guys have here is textile. And they said, we don't have textile anymore. So what are you talking about? Italian product. No, it all went over to China. So they shipped all the stuff they used to make in Italy. They ship it to China. But the stuff they did keep, like this goes years ago, go and look for like the basic things like shoes. Try to get leather shoes. Nope, made in China. And if you want good leather shoes, you're going to spend $500, $600 on shoes that used to cost you $100. But the $100, $200 shoes are now made in China. All of your components and your parts and just everything. That's what happened. And then it starts moving, and you start looking, okay, now where else you can have it made in Cambodia, India, Jordan, Egypt. But those are, minimal. Everything China. And Meme is saying Amazon, China. Go onto Amazon and try to buy a product, and things have shifted a little bit. But let's say you're looking for a mouse, a Logitech mouse. Logitech is somewhere buried in the result, but everything is like, I don't know, whatever weird name it has to it. You'll have 100 of these, wireless mouse devices. that are made from China. And then finally, you'll find the Logitech one that's Logitech, maybe a little better, but guess where it's made? China. You know, it's just massive, massive problems, you know, in the economy. And that has to shift, hence the tariffs.
Well,
they
Jeff,
put tariffs on our products, we put tariffs on their products, and we start pushing production to the US.
Yeah, by the way, for people in Australia, you know, you mentioned Home Depot. That's Bunnings Warehouse, or it's Home Hardware, Thrifty Link Hardware, just for the comparison. There you go.
They know
the big one here is Lowe's, and you know, they kind of know what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
Bunnings,
Yeah, but look at the appliances too.
Look at this.
Go get a stove or a washing machine right now. And if you go just a random washing machine, like $600, $700, get a quality one. You got to go to the like all the production, like GE, for instance, they have appliances, but the regular appliances are cheap. When you go into their cafe series, you're going to spend like $4,000, $5,000 on appliances, but it's all high quality. That's what they used to make. But what they did is make it higher, you know, productive pricing. Right. So you got to go to like their cafe series and their washing machine series. I just got it. It's the profile series. And you have to, and I was looking at everything else. Maytag, cheap. Like every single item was cheap. And then you go to GE, I'm like, well, these kind of suck. And they're like, well, here's our profile series. I'm like, okay, that's nice. That's good quality. Same thing with a cafe. Like our refrigerator is a cafe series. You spend a lot of money for it. I went to look for a new stove, cafe series stove, like $4,000.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, you know, what's going on? But people seem okay with that because they want cheap prices, cheap products.
Of course.
You know, it's a shame. It's a travesty.
Wolf of Wall Street's,
you know,
breaking. China hits U.S. goods with an extra 34% tariff. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. 6J said, I hope you're referring to China. He said, referring to tariffs in general, everyone loses. I'm like, well, Trump responds with a 50% tariff equal to or less than what other countries have been hitting us for years. And now you're upset? Were you perfectly fine with those countries charging the U.S. sky-high tariffs while no one lifted a finger? Go ahead and enlighten us. Or just say you voted for Harris, and then it all makes sense. Right. So I put that on there. Rob Cunningham chimed in. He said, I submit a motion to change the name of Wolf of Wall Street to Chihuahua. Of course, he spelled it wrong, of Wall Street. Can I get a second?
But this isn't Wolf of Wall Street. It's Wolf of all streets.
Whatever. Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, of all streets. Yeah. The Wolf of all streets, he goes, it's spelled Chihuahua. If you're going to troll someone, make sure you don't troll yourself harder. And Rob said, brilliant. Self-trolled. I concur. Will said, you're obviously a good guy and very passionate, but I can say all the hair trigger responses are the reason that people take issue with other communities. If Bitcoin maxis, I mean, please, dude. He said, I concur. I've been engaged in the battlefield since before Trump descended the escalator in 2015. I admit to occasional lapses in war fatigue, given we're still fighting this economic, political, philosophical, ideological, spiritual, financial, NGO, military, social, religious, and existential battle between centralized control force versus national sovereignty supporters. The war between centralized versus decentralization is old as human history, and we're at an epic turning point, one impacting every single aspect of life on earth. Emotion, excitement, impatience, fear, anger, greed, ignorance, and tribalism. It's all in the mix, causing the fog of war. Of course, Rob is brilliant as usual, but I thought that was pretty on point there. You know, Circle has an IPO coming out. I know Rob. He didn't write that with ChatGPT. If you know Rob and you spend any time with Rob like I have and had dinner with him, this shit comes out of his mouth nonstop. Rapid fire. He doesn't use ChatGPT. I'm telling you right now. I know Rob. He talks like this, and he has facts, and he memorizes everything. He's that. Listen to watch him on his podcast. You'll know. You'll see.
My coffee thing doesn't open.
Well, that sucks, Jeff. So James Ho, who is from Modular Capital, put this out. He goes, you know, Circle earned 1.7 billion revenue in 2024. You know, they have an upcoming IPO, but they paid out 900 million to Coinbase as a distribution partner. That 1 billion going to Coinbase likely comes with little to no cost of cost to serve, and at 10x earnings, a 10 billion market cap, and likely contributes 25% of the coin valuation. So for perspective, Coin is targeting $4 to $5 billion valuation for its IPO, with around 300 million of 2024 adjusted EBITDA. That's earnings before income taxes, and I forget what the other shit is there. But part of a way Coinbase has monetized its brand, platform, and distribution, with the rev stream less cynical than its core trading transactional business. And so he just basically talks about it. Look at Coinbase is getting freaking rich versus,
Oh yeah, they are.
you know, and then Ashish Burla, who used to be with Ripple, he now sits as a board member of Ripple, but he put this out. He said, this is interesting too. Circle's IPO is rumored to be between 4 to 5 billion, far below the threshold at which liquidation preferences do not matter, which is 8 billion. Preferred stockholders, investors will get the first 1.1 billion before common stockholders, which are the employees, etc., can redeem. Given that 99% of Circle's revenue is based on interest from USDC deposits, anticipated interest rate cuts will only massively impact Circle employees. And so this guy said, Capshot, would you care to elaborate a little bit more on the liquidation preference? Now here's the money shot right here. Later stage Circle investors, E and F, stage on the investment side, put a clause in their investment that stipulate that they are guaranteed a return of 8 billion on their investment in a liquidation event. So if the IPO is under 8 billion, those investors get paid first and then everyone else.
Amazing.
Not a good, I mean, this is great when you follow people that are smart and have studied and knew how their E and F rounds. And these investors put that in there. So they're going to gobble up 1.1 billion of the stock. The next one will go to the company. And then finally, you out there will be whatever is left over slivers.
Retail.
But the payout, the retail, and then the payouts there. So like this is an interesting sort of a
Retail
amazing
never gets a
development.
payout. Ever. Retail never gets a payout.
Retail doesn't get paid out. No, it's not for that.
Nope.
Ali Terra put this out here. What do you got there? Getting rid of the Federal Reserve first, then setting up tariffs would have been the way to do it. No, that's not the way to do it.
You want to elaborate?
You can't get rid of the Federal Reserve. Like, let's turn it off. No, you gotta. The tariffs are what is going to allow us to get rid of the Federal Reserve. Why? Because money coming in that replaces income tax. The whole idea of the Federal Reserve is it's a debt system. So you borrow $1, and now you got to pay interest on the dollar to a third party that's not federal, it's not a reserve, and it has nothing to do with the sovereignty of the United States. Okay. If you take that dollar and you keep borrowing that, you got to borrow another dollar to pay back the interest on that. If you set up tariffs and tariffs come in and replace, and then what Trump's saying is people making $175,000 a year or less, it'll probably start low. The threshold will probably start lower than that, maybe 75,000, maybe 100,000. Those people no longer pay income tax, right? Because now you got money flowing in from somewhere else. When the money flows in enough to where you don't need to pay taxes, you also don't need to take money from the Federal Reserve. And that's how you kill the Federal Reserve. You destroy the Federal Reserve by not needing it anymore, and you let them. And what are they going to do? You have money coming in from other places. So that's how the tariffs. That's why the tariffs are a great idea, and that's why most of the people are coming to the table. Like Vietnam came and said, "Hey, I'll tell you what if we go to zero? Would you guys negotiate?" And Trump's like, "Yeah, we'll have a conversation about that." He doesn't want to do negotiation yet. So what he's really doing, and the whole idea of China, dude, we don't need China. That's the point. We're bringing all the manufacturing back here. Go ahead, put tariffs all you want. You guys can, Canada did the same thing. We're going to tariff you. Well, good. You're going to collapse your economy because guess what? We only have like 2%, 1%. It comes from Canada or Mexico. Meanwhile, Mexico is like 25%. And I think Canada's in the 20% too. You're talking about 1/5 of your economy is dependent. So yeah, I mean, you can say it's a losing proposition overall.
Yeah,
on the tariff side, Jeff.
We're on the winning side of it. 100%. The problem is that they've been implementing tariffs across the board. So I think there was some discourse, over what the U.S. now is. You're going to have tariffs as well on Australian goods. But, you look at Australia, for the most part, had brought tariffs on U.S. goods pretty close to zero. But yet there's still some products that go to Australia because they're trying to protect their own domestic industry, like the wine industry over in Australia, as an example. They put a 29% tariff on all incoming U.S. wines. So that means that the Australian wines will automatically be 30% cheaper just based off of that tariff or that GST. So they levy higher taxation, might not be an exact tariff, but they levy higher taxation on certain products based on region of where they're coming from. So like wine, for instance. So although if you go on the higher level, you'd say, oh, look, Australia has no tariffs. Okay, but let's go down to the micro. Let's look at a specific product. Oh, look, 29% GST taxation on top of whatever your other local regional tax is on US based wine product. So that's what we got to start looking at. Now we put our tariff on Australia and they're like, well, maybe we need to come to the table and let's create a level playing field. So it's like, if you can dump your product in our country, let us, come to you. If, your people want our wine, then let them buy it at a 30% lower price point. You don't need to put that high taxation on it. And that's another way countries hide it across the board. They're trying to raise money. Some countries have 100 to 125, 150% taxation on American made vehicles, on American cars. So if you go buy a car in some of these other countries, I could list them, but you'll end up spending twice. So if you buy a car here, let's say now they cost $50,000, you're spending $100,000 in that country for that same vehicle, which is why the US vehicles won't sell as well in that country. And you're going to find other, it's amazing. It really,
it's not amazing. A fair thing. So that's what
it's not fair. So
I thought Nolte had the best explanation of this. He goes, people need to understand that Trump is unplugging the American economy, waiting 30 seconds and then plugging it back in. It's a reset.
Yep.
And the funny thing about it is the people complaining and bitching about Trump. I mean, dude, it's I mean, just grow up. I mean, you had somebody in there that wasn't even sane, that didn't sign it. They had robos things signing it, never knew where he was, complete incompetent fool. And everyone's like, this is the greatest president in history. Then you had the dumbest candidate to ever run for office with Kamala Harris, dumber than dumb, dumber than a box of rocks. And everyone's like, she's the greatest ever. I mean, come on, people. And now you're going to complain? I mean, what is wrong with you people? I mean, you guys are absolutely out of your mind. By the way, did you know that Trump signed a new executive order, Jeff, on that?
On what?
Here, look at this. This is the new executive order he signed right here.
Executive order is for allowing people who are complaining about your tariffs to be permanently labeled as whiny, retarded, sad little bitches.
Hold it. This is a good one. Is everybody listening?
It's a good one, right, Jeff? I mean, sad, whiny, little retarded bitches.
This executive order is for allowing people who are complaining about your tariffs to be permanently labeled as whiny, retarded, sad little bitches.
Hold it. This is a good one. Is everybody listening?
Everyone's listening, President Trump. Everybody's listening. I mean, why wouldn't you listen? It's fantastic, Jeff. It's so much great stuff. Why wouldn't you be listening to any of that? And then this I saw too. This is you want to see what it looks like, the difference between MAGA and MAGA with stock portfolios? It looks something like this. So for people listening to podcasts, it's a clip of Elon Musk standing next to Barron Trump. Barron has got this stoic face on there, and Elon Musk is hamming it up, clapping his hands, laughing, wildly throwing his hands in the air. And you got Barron Trump is like sitting there with this, with a straight face. And he's the one with MAGA with stock portfolios, and Elon Musk is just regular MAGA. So it's just this funny stuff.
Would have liked to have called the top and told.
Look at the face, too. Barron's he's still pissed about the whole when he went over and whispered in Biden's ear. Remember he gave him that stuff?
Yep.
That was funny. That was some good stuff, man.
Miguel, people complain about Trump tariffs because they don't understand how the economy works. Blame the education system. That's right. That's exactly spot on. They just don't get it. And they also don't get that Trump has been playing 3D chess while the rest of these people play, I don't know, they're playing marbles. They're playing the same, they're not on the same board.
Tiddlywinks. Look at this right here. They changed, by the way, they just changed the opening buzzer for the stock exchange here. Ready? Here it goes.
Oh my God.
Oh, that is some funny stuff, man. You gotta like that. Hey, something else I saw that I think for some reason I thought that this was interesting. Let me see. I think I have to share screen for this because we can't. There's no sound on it. But there was so the Houthis were gathered for instructions on an attack. Have you seen this yet, Jeff? The
No.
Houthis, the Houthis.
Oh yeah, I did see that one.
Yeah. So let's see. Let me show you this right here. The Houthis were gathered. They were gathered. They were waiting for talking about an attack, and then this happened. Jeff, let's show this here.
It looks like Everton just scored.
So there they are, right there. They're gathered for talking about attack. How they're going to sink some more ships, and then this broke out. Jeff, look at this. There they are, and well, they're gone. Oh, my goodness, just like that, evaporated. Holy cow! Boom, a big crater. I wanted to see more of the video at the end, but I think what you see is just like a crater.
That's all it is.
I mean, that's pretty much all that there is, man. Look, it's just a crater. Look at that. My God.
Done.
Holy cow.
Done.
You look at the car, there's
No
nothing,
coming
dude.
back.
It's done. Man.
No coming back from that one.
That's definitely going to leave a mark, Jeff, without a doubt. That's going to leave some sort of a mark. And when we think about, Jeff, we think about the this is probably a good one. Here's Stephen Miller on trade. He totally, and you already kind of explained this, but this is sort of his attack, his touch.
And there's the comment right there, Chip. I watched a video of Trump 35 years ago on Oprah talking about how America is getting screwed with tariffs.
This isn't new, people. He knows what he's doing.
Ago, right? So
look at this.
The original sin of how the modern economy in America is structured, the president talks about more than anything else. And it gets to Caroline's point about the overall economic vision. The original sin was that we created a tax system that punished you for making something in America and rewarded you for making something in China or a foreign country. So in other words, if you had your factory in America, you paid a sky-high corporate tax rate, you were beaten to death with regulation, you had radically unaffordable energy prices, and Washington just in every way made your life miserable.
And the political class didn't do anything about it. They allowed it to happen.
Correct.
Well,
they sat by and watched it happen for decades.
They actually wanted the opposite to happen, especially if you look at the 90s when we had NAFTA, we had the WTO, we had the entry of China into the WTO. The goal very clearly was to remove U.S. tariff and trade barriers to make it easier for people to outsource to China. Because once we gave China what we call permanent normal trade relations, all of your manufacturers in the United States who are thinking in short terms, in terms of quarterly earnings and that kind of thing, they said, listen, now I can go move my factory from Indiana or wherever, I can put it in China, I can put it in Mexico, and I know I will have sure access to the U.S. market. Today, President Trump is saying the best place to make American products and sell American products is here in America.
That's right.
I mean, but you don't hear this kind of conversation happening. It's just orange man bad, overreacting. No matter, I mean, and what in a sense, what's happened with the Democrats is they look like fools because they're basically arguing for corruption, mismanagement of funds, because they're upset about it, Jeff. So how do you think somebody like here's Schumer talking about it 25 years ago, a very young Schumer.
The gentleman,
90s.
salute him for his work on this rise in support of the amendment.
29 years ago.
First of all, Social Security card is used from one end of America to the other as an identification card right now. Who are we kidding? If you want to pass a law and says it shouldn't be, I would ask the chairman and the distinguished minority member of the Social Security committee to pass that law. But let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card.
Chip, I just want to pause it there. I didn't mean to stop it completely, but I find it really interesting. You look at the amount of absolute power that these people have. They've been in Washington way too long. So 1996, fast forward to now, too many years in Congress, too many years of corruption. He's enriched himself. The guy is worth way too much money.
Yeah.
But when he first went in, you can look at the difference between then and now.
Oh, God.
Then he was in a normal state of mind. Now, because of the amount of money that he's made, because of his political positioning, Now he doesn't want to relinquish it. Plus, who knows what they have over him. But beyond that, it's just that the temptation of making millions of dollars through corrupted behavior. And so if you fast forward to now, his tonality and the things he says are polar opposite of what he believed in then. Now he's self-serving, him and the rest of them. And it could be, he can have a D after his name and R after his name. Doesn't matter. When they're there that long, they become corrupted. And we've seen it time and time again, and so you look at that component of it, the new party. This is why conservative constitutionalism is so critical, and also having a barrier of term limit, or a barrier to have no term limit. We have to have term limits there. You can't allow this absolute corruption to take place for so long. Absolute power will always corrupt, absolutely. And we've witnessed it. We've seen it. We know the outcome of it. And it doesn't matter who they are, because they're all buddies at the end of the day.
They are.
The D's and the R's. They'll do all this stuff and debate and negotiate, and then they'll go out to dinner together. They go to the same parties together. They hang out with each other after the fact. And it's a good laugh, but maybe they have difference of opinion. But now, now they made so much money. You got to take the money out of politics. Don't allow these guys to make their millions. Put a cap on what they make. If they make 180,000, guaranteed those people won't be in office that long.
Jeff,
if you say you can't get anything else and you can't make money after the fact from your political positioning.
Here's a young Nancy Pelosi. Let's hear what she has to say.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now. I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the business community is asking each and every one of you to
I'm sorry, Jeff, does that say tariffs? Oh my goodness, there's tariffs there. So the average U.S. Tariff on Chinese product is 2%. This is from 1996, 29 years ago. The average Chinese tariff on the U.S. is 35%. Okay, Nancy Pelosi's going off about this. She's tying it back to human rights. She's talking about, basically America getting ripped off, right? This is the trade deficit was $34 billion in 1995, 30 years ago. She's talking about the Chinese jobs supported by the U.S. tariff, U.S. 10. I mean, this is such an imbalance. But what happened to these Dems, Jeff? What happened to
us to endorse today? Right now, we have a $34 billion trade on the job times in the last series of these transfers of technology are in the airline industry.
So they were fighting for it back then, but is it because Trump? I don't even think they believe it, because they didn't bring up tariffs. But there's also a clip of Jean-Pierre, whatever her name was, the former press secretary, talking about tariffs. She did a whole thing on tariffs and China tariffs and this and that. And nobody lost their minds. Nobody lost their shit, and nobody cared. But as soon as Trump does this thing, and so the people that are crying the loudest, those are the people you want to avoid.
This is an anti-fraud amendment. Over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
And what did Doge just uncover? 5 million Social Security numbers handed out to illegals. And who do you think that's going to trace back to? The D's.
The Democrats.
There's going to be prosecutions. It's basic treason. So you're going to, I don't know if you know what happens to people with treason. Doesn't end well. It's not a good, pleasant death. But this is what's happening. So you want to know why they're so worried about what Trump's doing? Because he knows where the dead bodies are buried. Listen, everything is set up for success. Going to happen overnight. First of all, you're like, Kash Patel's not doing the FBI. Well, first of all, he's got to root out all the corruption. He's got to get rid of all the people that are leaking stuff to the press and all kinds of garbage. The same with the Justice Department, with Pam Bondi. They've got to make some changes. They've got to be able to right the ship first so the ship can sail. And then you're going to have a lot of this. But what's about to happen, when I see President Trump when you see Elon Musk come out there and start accusing Elizabeth Warren, like, hey, how did she get so wealthy? How come she's worth $60 million? Hey, how come Maxine Waters is worth this much money? Geez, I wonder why they became so rich. And then Trump, on the heels of that, chimes in and says, I wonder who's getting the kickbacks. You know, if they're asking, they already know. So it's just pushing them. It's just, then you have Elizabeth Warren, who's jumpy as hell. She's on X 24 hours a day, spewing garbage like they're going to take away your Social Security. They're going to take away all your benefits. The Republicans are trying to destroy education. They don't care about education. Well, out of all the education budgets, when they got rid of the what was it called? This scam, the Department of Education. 80% of that was spent on infrastructure and for losers, bureaucrats to run the system. And so by the time the money made it to the states, there was no money. Trump said, this is dumb. Let the states, and again, if you go back to the founder's vision, it was always supposed to be states' rights, right? It was supposed to be states versus the whole nationalized thing. And so what happened is now all this money gets distributed evenly. If you live in a blue state, you're going to get more garbage, woke BS. And if you live in a red state like Florida or Texas, you're going to get an education system that reflects the values of the U.S., and you're going to be teaching kids about real history. They hardly learn about history anymore. And you're not going to be, basically all this propaganda wokeism. And people are losing their minds. Yeah, because you're no longer controlling everybody. You can control the people in the blue states. Same thing happened with abortion. Abortion was always legal in the states, the blue states. But then they started, we can't get an abortion. We go to a state where you can. Go. I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, the whole idea is let the states govern the way the states want to govern. If you don't like that state, move someplace else. Same with gay marriage. Half of the states had gay marriage, but why did you have to nationalize it? Well, let the states, it should be states' rights. States have the ability. It's what the founder's vision was, that the national was supposed to only provide for the common defense, border control, roads, that kind of stuff. That was pretty much it. And it's got so off the rails, Jeff. My God. I mean, we're at a point where there's so much evidence of where the Democrats used to believe in stuff. And you can see how twisted the party's become. There's nobody that can't get behind what Schumer and Pelosi were saying there. I mean, they're right. You're talking, Schumer talking about the whole fraud of not being able to hand out Social Security and give benefits to illegals. Now that's what they've just done under the Biden administration. And now talking about the whole idea of tariffs and how we're getting screwed. So 30 years ago, it was a good message, but apparently now, Jeff, it's a bad message. It's just insane. And then look at this nut job. Here's Gavin Newsom with his message. And he is, if you guys don't know, he's the governor of California.
I represent all Americans. And Donald Trump's tariffs do not represent all Americans. And on behalf of 40 million Americans that live in the great state of California, the tentpole of the U.S. economy, 14% of the U.S. GDP, the fifth largest economy in the world, the dominant manufacturing state in America. Our state of mind is around supporting stable trading relationships around the globe. And that's why today I've directed my administration to look at new opportunities to expand trade and to remind our trading partners around the globe that California remains a stable partner.
Do you know what he just said there, Jeff? Nothing.
What did he say?
He said nothing.
Did anyone interpret it?
He's mad about the tariffs, right? Well, dude, I mean, Trump is charging 50% of the tariffs are being charged on us, but like someone mentioned that the conversation he had with Oprah 35 years ago, he was complaining about tariffs. Trump's the same guy he's always been. You go back 30 years, 40 years, 20 years, he's the same guy, right? Yeah, he was a Democrat back then, but he was still, he was still on point talking about all this stuff. It's insane to me. I mean, the whole thing is just gotten so, and nobody points it out. Look at our pal John Kennedy. John Kennedy, the phenomenal senator. I wanted to show this to you, Jeff, because this guy he's always on point, and he always brings a little bit of wisdom to almost everything he does. Here he is right here.
I think, Judge, that Mr. Musk and his team's efforts to control spending are the most important in the history of ever, certainly in my lifetime. My Democratic colleagues would prefer that we ask who needs to pay more in taxes. The American people want us to ask what the hell happened to the money.
Damn right. What happened to the money? Here he is again.
Well, I think America is rich. We buy a lot of stuff. President Trump is saying that if you American business or you foreign businesses want to sell in America, then move your business here and hire American workers. That's a laudable goal, and I support it. It'll work long term. But as you mentioned, in the long term, we're dead. Short term matters. And the truth is, nobody knows what the impact of these tariffs are going to be, Bill. I listened to my friend on another network, Willie Geist, this morning, predict raging inflation. Now, I know Mr. Geist is smart and well-educated because he went to Vanderbilt. But that's just a wag. That's a wild-ass guess. China has huge trade barriers. They don't have inflation. They've got deflation. India has a lot of trade barriers. They don't have raging inflation. We'll know more in the next couple of months. If you want a surefire investment, go book as many rooms as you can at the Hay Adams Hotel across from the White House, because every foreign trade representative is going to be coming to America to meet with the Trump administration to try to negotiate. So it'll be 3 or 4 months before we know what the final tariffs are going to be.
Go to the hotel across the White House because everyone's going to be going there to try to negotiate. You already saw, Vietnam come out and say, hey, we want to negotiate. Trump's like, that's awesome. Great. Thank you. Listen, people that don't make big, bold decisions, don't try to change things for the better. Trump steps up for the American worker who was getting destroyed. You got people in factories losing their jobs here because we made it so difficult to do business here. And you know what really shone the big bright light on what a bad scenario we were in, Jeff? When the pandemic happened, there were no masks. Not that I'm not a fan of masks. I thought they were the dumbest thing ever, but you couldn't get one here. Right? You couldn't even get medical supplies here, right? Because China basically made it all. China and other countries, not saying all China, but you couldn't even get it here. You couldn't get it shipped here. So we were left with our pants down because we didn't have access to medical supplies. We didn't have access to proper medications because they were all being shipped in. A big pharma was making them overseas and they had to come in. And that's where you saw firsthand of you not, and your donut, analogy that you used earlier, when you cut out that whole manufacturing piece, you don't control it anymore. You're just a reseller. You're a reseller of garbage, and you have basically given up the farm because you don't have any control over it anymore. What Trump's trying to do is bring this back. People can't understand that. They'll complain and bitch, and I got the lefties going, oh, Trump collapsed the stock market. Okay, well, great. Guess what? Great time to buy in. You don't like it? The stock market's never been the arbiter of what the economy is doing. And if you think about the economy, if you're going to tie everything to the stock market, it's so heavily manipulated. You don't think, and then you got Powell. He's like talking about maybe I should increase rates. Powell doesn't want Trump to succeed. They're all lefty loon jobs over there. And also too, if you remember in the first administration, Trump kept hammering the Fed, kept exposing the Fed, and all of a sudden they basically bent over because they didn't need any more bright lights shown on them. But I have a feeling the audit is coming. It will move through Congress. You will have an audit. But by the time the midterms show up, the Democrats have 18% support across the board, the lowest they've ever had. I just hope they keep doubling down on stupid, because it seems to be working marvelous for Trump, not for them, but it seems to be doing wonders for them.
Yeah, they've definitely, put themselves in a predicament, and that's the brilliant part about it, is that we're going to see kind of we've witnessed their downfall, and the other part of it is that the Rhino movement is fighting back. We're witnessing their collapse. We're witnessing the collapse of the far left. That's why they're coming out violently now. Why do you think they're bringing out their foot soldiers once again? The quote unquote Antifa type people. Their Officer Tatum had an event that they went and they were up against these people, and they came and attacked them, attacked the Officer Tatum people that were holding an event. And these people were all just super limp-wristed, but they were attacking, destroying property, and they were coming as a group, right? Because the group mob mentality doesn't matter if they're limp-wristed or not, but they're just weak individuals. On a one-on-one, they would be destroyed, instantly. But as they come with a group, they think, power in numbers, but, one of us could probably take out 5 of them instantly, but the problem is that, and Officer Tatum said it yesterday on his show, that, the police, and this was all in California, did nothing to prevent what was happening. They just stood there. And he said, what's going to happen next? Are they going to bring knives? Are they going to bring guns? Like, what's going to happen? Because we're already seeing them burning Tesla vehicles on a broad scale. They're defacing the places of business. They're destroying people's vehicles. They're coming out. They'll attack the individuals. Their mindset is so corrupted and upside down. These people are the enemy of this state, and they've been bred and brainwashed through our school system. Hence, the undoing of this demented Department of Education from Washington that has corrupted the minds of the youth, right? And so here we are, when we go online and we try to consume as much information as we possibly can. And you said it earlier, like the difference between ChatGPT and Grok. With ChatGPT, we know we can go on there without this kind of libtard mentality of corrupted information, which on ChatGPT, you don't know if the information there is only as good as the people that plugged it in, and they gave it a leftist slant, even though I think, Chip, some of that is changing as well, because of the change in policy. But this is where we have to get way beyond it. This is, it's time to make a stand. And it kind of goes all the way back to the first thing we talked about, which is what Ripple is doing and being able to use the blockchain to start helping other countries and seeing it through transparent mechanism. We need the exact same thing in this country, to where we can transparently help individuals in this country, not through direct handout, because that doesn't help anybody, right? The whole adage, right? If you teach a man to fish, he's going to fish for a lifetime. But if you give him a fish, he's only going to eat for that one day. We can't continue to feed people for the one day. We can help them, give them the tools that are going to be necessary so they can lift themselves up by their own bootstraps. And that's what's critical. Sometimes people fall down. That is what our welfare state was originally meant for. It was to help women back during World War II that were needing assistance because the men were all being shipped overseas. And then they all of a sudden decided, hey, you know what? This is a great long-term strategy of controlling the populace. So we don't want people to be on, long-term assistance. We want to be able to provide that support when it's needed, because people do stumble and fall down. And we want to make sure, from a societal perspective, let's get everyone back into a productive state. And that's what's really important. And just kind of a final note, and this is something that Osman brought up, and this is why we want the production. We want the majority of members of society to be productive. We don't want them demoralized and told by the Democrat liberal education system that certain groups of people aren't smart enough to do for themselves, because it's all bullshit. Right? It's all through racial division and societal division that they put these certain ideas into people's brains. But here, what Osman is saying, I'm not sure if those companies bring their factories back to the U.S. There's talking about when we start, through the tariff, we want stuff made here. There's not enough people willing to work. And it's not the minimum wage. It's that we need to start getting people who are willing to work. There's a lot of people that are not working, that are on government assistance right now. If we go to Governor Engler in the state of Michigan, when he was governor, he had a work for welfare program. You want support from the government? Guess what? You have to be actively looking for work. I'll take it to another level. You want assistance through the government? You have to work. There's no more you're getting assistance for free. Screw that. If you're disabled, not able to work, that's different. But when you're able-bodied and you can work and you want the assistance, that's where you're going to work in these factories. That are they going to provide minimum wage? I don't know. You're getting government assistance sitting on your ass doing absolutely nothing. Guess what? You want a dime out of the government, you're working. And that's it. And if we have to balance things out a little bit to help the corporate, development from this perspective to bring production back into this country, short term, not long term. The thing is that through AI and robotic development, a lot of those minimum wage jobs in factories aren't needed anymore. But there's still need for that human element to help move the product and make sure that the facilities are operating. That means that there has to be a re-education program. That also means that individuals that when they're in high school, they need to learn trades. We have to bring back the trade. And trade might be plumbing, might be construction, might be electric, it might be automotive repair, it might be computer repair, it may be AI, understanding how to code, AI, how to code robotics. Why not start bringing actual lessons to all segments? And not everybody's going to fit every category. Let them, they'll figure it out, but bring it back to the high school. And then let's take it to a whole nother level and start allowing, the businesses to start recruiting high school kids for summer programs to get interns, whether it's out in the field, again, as a construction, electric, plumbing, automotive, programming, allow some sort of a program so that kids can start getting skill set instead of just doing absolutely nothing. Same thing goes for college. College is useless if the kids that are in college aren't learning actual real world situations in real world environment, not getting their garbage out of books from people that probably never worked a day in their life. So
they get propaganda, though.
Be important.
That's important. They get important propaganda. What you don't realize about that, about you talking about minimum wage. No, I mean, first of all, $4 trillion is coming back to the U.S. in investment, right? In the next year and a half, 2 years, you'll see the investment. But also, the reason it went overseas, you saw that earlier segment, was because of the regulation was crippling them and the taxes were crippling them. So they could send it over there, bring it back for nothing, ship it and get it back here. And it was a lot less money. So that's why they did it. So regulation is part of it. Cutting regulation and taxes, giving tax breaks as well. That's where you're going to be able to pay, you're not going to be paying minimum wage for this. Here's a guy talking about Trump. This is a guy's take on Trump right here. This is pretty good.
Think of Trump. His economic plan makes complete sense. The US has 36 trillion in debt. In 2025, they will spend 6 trillion, but will only collect 4 trillion in revenue. So they need to borrow 2 trillion, and this will increase their debt to 38 trillion. Trump's economic plan is based on 3 levers. Number 1, cut expenses by 1 trillion, which is Doge, Elon Musk. He's targeting waste and fraud, like social security payments for people who are 150 years old. That is just fraud. 2, increasing revenue by 1 to 2 trillion through, number 1, tariffs. They will increase tariffs from 50 billion to 500 billion target. People will say, but other countries will retaliate. They will not be able to do it. The US is the biggest customer on earth. They consume 20 trillion every year. They are the biggest importer. They import 3 trillion every year. Plus, the current tariffs is actually not fair. Why should US cars entering Europe faces 10% tariffs, while the European cars entering the US just pay 2.5%? It's not fair. And because of the tariff changes, it now makes economic sense to build factories and businesses inside the US again. That means more jobs, means tax-paying businesses, and more foreign investment coming in. He will also increase revenue by deregulation. He will remove unnecessary regulations and rules, making it easier to do business, so business can grow faster, generate more tax revenues. He also make this gold card, which is offering lifetime US residency for 5 million. I think at least 1 or 2 million individuals globally can afford it. So if just 10% of them, if just 100,000 people buy this card, that's 1 trillion in incremental revenue. The third lever is he will reduce taxes. if he successfully cut 1 trillion in waste and expenses and add 1 to 2 trillion in revenue, the US will have a surplus. They will have more money than they want. So he will cut taxes. For individuals, anyone gaining more than 150K, he will make them pay 0 taxes. And on corporate taxes, he will go down from the current 21% to 15%, compared to the European average of 22%. France average is 25, I think, and Germany is 30. So at 15% corporate tax, the US will become one of the most business attractive countries on earth. Bottom line, this is exactly how government should be run, efficiently. Because when you eliminate waste, the money can actually go where it is actually needed, to the elderly, to the sick, to people who cannot work. And that is the real purpose of government, to protect the weak. Very few countries have the political will to do it. It takes leaders with backbone, charisma, and clarity of vision. Do you have leaders in your country pushing for real reform, or are they talking about non-relevant side topics? And let me know if you think Trump plan is bad, let me know why, because I think it is just common sense.
Brilliant, Jeff.
Man, that guy is smart.
He got it.
He broke it down so well. It's people that come to this country from other countries. I don't even know he's in this country. Maybe he's outside the country just talking about it. But people understand. People get it. He's obviously educated in the technique of business and understands finance and economics. Then you have all these dummies out there that are standing on street corners that know nothing. I just want to reference here with Osman also. He said, the reason I question is because I know from UK that people are made lazy. So instead of working, they go to pubs and get benefits from the government. Is US ready for a big workload placement? I say yes. Americans are different. They tried the UK system. This is why the Democrats are now out of offices. This is why the Democrats try to introduce systems and policies like they did in the UK. And you're right. The UK policies made people inherently lazy. People in Europe are inherently lazy compared to the US, and then if you go to other countries, like let's say Japan, they work on a whole different scale as well. But in the US, people, they don't have a work-life balance like in Europe. In Europe, they favor their vacations more than they do productivity, and so they give people automatically like eight weeks of vacation. I don't know, they take the whole summer off. It's amazing to me. Are people more satisfied, happier? I don't know. The cost of your housing and cost of goods is significantly higher due to high taxation, but we can't really compare the European culture to the US culture. The US is just built different, and so people here are sustained based on the productivity of the individual. The individual has to go out, and you have the ability to accomplish anything from 0 to whatever. It's an unlimited category what you can do. If you decide you want to go and start a painting business tomorrow and you're talented in painting, you can start a painting business, but people are not as inherently lazy as they are in the UK. And you kind of hit it right on the head that the UK incentivizes people right out of high school to be lazy. Why? Because they pay them and they put them on the dole. So if you put people on the dole and you start paying them right out of high school, how do you incentivize people to go get a job and work? There's no incentive. So that's why they'd rather go to the pub and live off government benefit, because you're giving them too much, just enough to exist. They've done that experiment here. You see it in the projects and in poor communities, white, black, Hispanic, whatever it is, where the government gives handouts and allows them to become kind of dependent on those government handouts, because it's not enough to really live well, but it's just enough to survive and exist. And when they talk about poverty in this country versus poverty in other countries, if you've ever gone to India and you've seen poverty on the streets of India, which is beyond anything you could ever imagine, and then you come over here and you see poverty, and these people are living indoors with indoor plumbing. They've got color TVs. They have food in their refrigerator. They're not living well. Not saying that, but the poverty level is drastically different, from one country to the next. But we don't want people to become subservient and reliant on government handout. But I think that when you institute certain policy, just like Governor Engler did in Washington, where it required people, if you wanted government assistance, you have to be actively looking for a job, and that term is cut off. There's only a certain period of time to where you can continue to get, at least it was. Now it's different with the liberal fascists that are controlling Michigan now. But but the thing is that that's the differentiator. And again, there's lots of people in this country that want to work and should work, and you have to get them back into that mindset. And you go around the world, Haitian poverty. Think about the corruptive nature within the Haitian community. It's so corrupted, and you go around the country or around the world, and there's so many places just like that the poverty is there because of the corrupted nature of those who control the country, and so there's a lot. So let's get this ready, Chip. Let me run the commercial. Justin. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we got to go. I got to go. Got places to be. 24. Let's run this commercial and then do the drawing. So maybe we'll get the 30 just based on this commercial, Chip.
Let's go.
Win a badass Yeti from Blue Tribe. What's the word of the day? Yeti. Get your Salmon wallet ready, because this one's gonna be Get ready to claim your own legendary Blue Tribe Yeti of the clan Spirit Walkers. His name is called Let's go! On the chain with the Badass Yetis!
There you go. And we got 25 in the drawing. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Ooh, Blue Tribe. Nice. Blue Tribe. Nice.
I've never seen the Blue Tribe before.
How about this Mentalect? Mentalect should have a mentalist to go with the Mentalect name there. Mentalect, and you need a mentalist, a Blue Tribe. So I hope you entered this drawing and maybe you'll win the Blue Tribe mentalist. Let's go. Ready? Let's draw. Let's see who's going to win. Tickety talk. Who's going to win? Tick, 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 tick. Boom. Charles. A repeat winner. Charles wins. Tom Morello. You can't say it's rigged. Charles, you cannot say it's rigged. Didn't Charles just win last week?
No, I think so.
Damn, son. There you go. You got a Blue Tribe coming to you. There you go. So,
well,
rigged. Jim D, who's the other person that's won more than anybody else, but at least he's given away his, though, I would say. Rigged. It's always rigged. Here. Listen, if you don't win, it's rigged.
It's rigged too.
Yeah. Well, you can't complain it's rigged. But Mike says congratulations, as does who else did? Osmond says well done.
When did Charles win last? It's been a while. It was 2 times ago.
Okay. Well,
March 29th was his last win.
Oh, that was 2 weeks.
But then he also won on March 22nd.
Damn.
Those are 2. Those are his only 2. So this is he'll complete the trifecta, and then gets the perfect hat trick on the wins, and now it's time to and then we'll see who wins tomorrow night. But is Charles here?
I don't see him chiming in there, dude.
You
better say you're here quickly, otherwise we are moving on.
458.
I don't see Charles saying there he is. So he's got his wallet address done.
All right, let's go.
All right, Charles.
Let's go. Wallet address. Chip, does it start with RG and end with HVV?
HVV, correct. Starts with RG and ends with HVV, correct.
Perfect. All right, let's do this.
Charles does need a blue wrench at this point.
I think so too. That'll be the with the trifecta win, gets a blue wrench.
Black Tribe is a ways off. We got to do the chimps first. So, but anyway, while you're doing this, while you're giving him handing it over, I wanted to show you this. Some guy went into a crowd with the retard finder, and look what he found.
Think of Trump. There
you go. It's going off left and right. Oh my God.
Don't touch people. Come on. Keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands. They're so. Why do you always go to violence and keen Teslas and throwing Molotov cocktails?
Here we go.
Why do you always have to get violent?
So people that are on the podcast, it's basically people protesting against Elon Musk, make MAGA go away, make Elon go away. And so this guy's got one of those scanners, and it says retard finder on it, and you can hear it's buzzing as he's wiping it around.
Peaceful protest. Peaceful protests.
The retard finder is going off, Jeff.
Peaceful protests. Peaceful protests.
Molly Spurs. Not my president.
People are so crazy. Oh my God, what's wrong with these people?
There's a lot of mental illness is the first problem. Look at the retard finders going crazy. Holy cow, Jeff. You're a Nazi. The best part is all of the vehicles that are facing are probably all liberals because that was back when they loved them and he was awesome. Matt says, I'm surprised it didn't blow up from overloading. Charles got it. Thank you. Awesome, dude.
Awesome.
Well, Charles, what are you going to replace your avatar there? You've won 3 of them already. Let's go, baby. Does she have a green card? Jeez. Well, that's all the time we have, guys. We will be departing here. We did an hour and 45 minutes. Holy crap. That's quite. Thank you for sticking with us. Appreciate everybody there. They're
fun.
Eating their own. I love it. Mike. Mike. I love it. Mike. All right. Let's do this, guys. Let's get out of here. We are going to go. Oh, boom. Charles throws out the big support right there. Boom with the support. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, Charles. Thank you very much. And thank you. If you want to support too, you guys can go over to XRP Cafe, search in Badass Yetis. You can go ahead and get your own Badass Yeti. If you want to buy one, you want to take a look. Thank you, brothers. Appreciate it. Top smart, gents. Beautiful. Iconic. White people calling other Nazis. Come on, man. Meanwhile, I like the video going around of all the Democrats doing the Nazi salute. Oh, no, that wasn't a Nazi salute. No. Yeah, apparently protecting, people against fraud, that's bad because what they've done is they've cut out the funding mechanism for all these protesters. When that money goes away, that there was all this USA aid and all this other stuff was being funneled to NGOs, which got funneled back into judge races and all this. Funneling all this stuff. Well, that's all cut off. So they're cut off at the knees. The funding's going away. You see all these people, they track cell phone movements. They move from one rally to another. They're acting like it's grassroots and it's all AstroTurf paid nonsense.
Matt, I'm so upset that he lost. He had to go buy a blue tribe. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
And you're always supporting. You've always supported a lot. You're doing a lot of Badass Yetis, so appreciate that.
That's awesome.
Dean Boom. We got the Howard Dean Boom.
Appreciate it.
Where's that Howard Dean Boom? We got that?
Boom.
Where's that Howard Dean Boom? There it is. There it is.
Boom.
Okay, there we go. We played them all. Let's get out of here, guys. I mean it. Guys, we'll see you tomorrow night. See you on the next one. Chip and Jeff. Ow! See you next time.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.